Chris Black in the cloud.
Look up that position and see what they ask for and compare it to what you're learning now. Since you're only 3 weeks in, compare it. You should have a good handle internally on what do DevOps, entry-level DevOps engineers want you to have as far as a required list. Just look that up. Matter of fact, look it up tonight.
Yes.
And if it looks like what you're taking, great. If it looks different, you might have to pivot. Now, most of these terms are familiar, but when they said that Python, well, the Python is cool. People use Python for everything. But they started talking about data science and AI and application development. Like that's just not the DevOps that you need for your entry-level position. You can get that later. So step number one, also, look at those positions and see what they're asking for on the required list and compare it to what you're doing now. 2, get a handle from whatever instructor or TA you have, and get an understanding of what will you have tangible to show at the conclusion of this. And this goes for any boot camp student of any type or any course. I did a talk, probably my best Twitter space. It was called How to Become Day One Ready as a Self-Taught Developer. And there was 4 points. I call it chops, which is your skills, demonstration, mouthpiece, and audience. Those are the 4 things, and I might reiterate this later if we have time. Okay. So right now you're developing the chops. Number 2 is you have to, as a self-taught dev, you have to have some demonstration of what you know. So you're hoping to get hired or looking forward to getting hired as a DevOps engineer. You should be able to ask yourself the question now, why will they pick my application out of the stack? Before we even get to hire, why will they pull my application out of the stack? If you apply on LinkedIn, why will they pull my LinkedIn profile out of the stack? There needs to be something compelling about you, almost like bait for a fish, because if it's one position with 100 apps, they're not calling 100 people. They're calling 10 to 20 max. So what is going to make your profile a 20? What we know it won't be is this certificate, because certificates of this type are meaningless. This is not an actual cert, but the knowledge is sufficient for you to be able to build things. That's my point number 2. It's chops, the demonstrations. You need to figure out ASAP, what will I build that I can demonstrate? I don't care if it's a whole portfolio or if just time from time you finish some project, you drop it on your LinkedIn and your Twitter, but you begin to build this image that you are a DevOps person because you're communicating to the world. Here is my demonstrated competency in the skills that you're looking for, which means if they catch your profile on LinkedIn, the first thing they do is check your social media. Hopefully you know that. And if they go and they see a lot of DevOps stuff and they happen to see a link and it takes them to like a sandbox environment or to a, what do they call it? To a lab, and she built this and she secured that and there's a pipeline here, then they know you're in the space. They know you're in the real deal, right? Way above and beyond the piece of paper you're going to get from this course, which is meaningless. It is meaningless. But what you can do from the knowledge you get is the most meaningful thing that you can do. So the advice is showing it. Make sure you have a handle on what projects you'll be able to show. I see the word project in a couple of the courses. Obviously, you want to customize those. You never want to go in with the exact tutorial project or the exact course, because if there's multiple people taking the course, which there always is, what that means is employers are seeing the exact same projects over and over in the InnoAssist class project. So go ahead and get comfortable with customizing things. Spend as much time building as possible, particularly if you're going all in. Spend as much time building as possible. Building meaning fingers on the keyboard, blank slate. What do I know how to make today? This is like my test for front-end developers, but the same thing works for DevOps and cloud engineer. Every week, you should be able to ask yourself this question: what can I make today? What can I build? And if the answer is nothing, then that's not a bad thing. That's just a signal. Like, I need to take my studies a little differently. Like, I'm passing the tests and stuff, but I don't know how to build anything. And if I don't know how to build anything, I won't be able to give the compelling argument in the interview about how I can contribute at the job, which means I'll never get hired. So every week, what can I build today? And then build it. Right? I don't care if it's just a little sample. Man, I had so many tiny little, when I was taking Java in my boot camp, because I ended up doing a little free boot camp later, I had so many little tiny projects like this, minor, never put on a portfolio, but it was what I knew how to build right then. So like right now, it might be just a counter, and tomorrow, next week, it might be how to take in user input and save it off to the database. The next time it might be how to consume data from an API and show it on a web page. Like every week I can build something. I'll just do like that tiny little mini project just to prove to myself I do know this thing. So if I get in the interview, I'm not just saying a bunch of concepts. I'm talking about what I've actually built with my hands, right? Who are you going to trust? The doctor who only went to school or the one who's done the 10 surgeries already? Obvious. Or the person who says they know how to build houses, or the one that shows you this entire suburb is me. So that's the same thing for you. Not only did you take the course, but here's what I made with my hands. I did this pipeline. Matter of fact, I met a developer. Since I'm not a developer per se, they had a project. They didn't know how to deploy it, but I know all about deployments because I'm that DevSecOps engineer girl. And so I took their project, pushed it up to Azure, and did this with EC2, right? You take that space, but you need to put your hands on something. And there's lots of ways to do that, from open source, from groups like this. I hope you guys are collaborating with each other, whether you have a Slack or a Discord, because you should connect with other people and do group projects. Because I see one of the things that one of the courses on your certificate is Git and GitHub, but you do not know Git until you do Git with other people. Git by yourself is like, it's like me writing on this piece of paper. It's nothing. But when you have to do Git with a team of people, that's a whole different level. And you have to start rebasing stuff and reverting. And so I would encourage you, if you're in the Black Cloud Geeks, connect with somebody, connect with somebody who's on the developer side and say, hey, do you have a development project that I could work with? And I want to just see, I just want to write a Jenkins build. I just want to just have a simple CI/CD. It runs off some tests. The tests fail. It gets pushed off to GCP or whatever, right? And that's the kind of thing you can tweet. That's the kind of thing you can drop on your LinkedIn. That's the kind of thing that can go on your resume, because if you don't have experience, being able to show what you built can classify as a project that you would put up to the top. Because when it comes to the resume, once you finish the biographical information, the order of a resume should be most compelling argument about you should be at the top. On your resume, the most compelling argument about you should be at the top. Now, if you went to Berkeley and got the 4.0 in computer science, that goes at the top. If you haven't seen the college campus in your whole life, but you've actually built out some pipelines with CI/CD and you push some stuff to the cloud, put those projects at the top. Whatever is the most compelling argument after the biographical information, your name and number and all that kind of crap. And so those projects absolutely can go on your resume. You get good 3 solid ones. Now you get into the interview, you don't get hit with the no experience thing. Because what I say all the time is people go into the interview, they get rejected. I ask them what happened. They're like, well, they said I didn't have enough experience. I'm like, that's code word. They knew exactly what your work experience was before they called you. They have your resume. So if they say not enough experience, what they're actually saying is, we don't trust that you can do the thing. It's PC language. So you have to build their confidence and de-risk yourself by showing them, hey, this is a cloud position that uses Circle CI/CD. I use Circle CI/CD. Here it is. The best way to get hired to do the thing is by doing the thing now. If you wanted to go into DevRel and you wanted to do video content and write blogs and stuff of that nature and speak at conferences, make video content and write blogs and speak at conferences now. You don't have to wait for the position. You can be in the position before you get the position. That makes it believable that you can succeed in the position.
Ooh, that's a clip.
Look, some.
That's a clip. All right, Nagase. All right, anybody else have any questions? I think we got time for 1 or 2 more. Anybody else?
I got a quick question to me.